Hello, everyone. This is Parrish Alford with the Daily Journal. I'm joined by Ole Miss Vice Chancellor for Athletics, Ross Bjork. And Ross, you've kind of been making the media rounds here for a few days. Tell me what's your message right now that you're trying to get out?
Well, I think one, as the leader in athletics, this is part of my job is to, be a public face of the athletic program when necessary. I think a lot of times we want our student athletes and our coaches to be that public face. But, right now we've had some transition. We have a lot going on in many different areas. And so I think it's important that people hear and see my voice, my face, that we have confidence in our program. We have confidence in the leadership as we move ahead. These are challenging times, but we're going to get through it. We're going to see the other end of the tunnel. And so that's really the purpose, is to really display confidence that things are going to move along. We have a great athletics program, a great university, and these challenges will soon pass.
Well, let's go back just one time to July 20, Ross, before we get to the challenges that you have right now. The Hugh Freezes resignation caught a lot of people off guard. Did you sense that was coming? Did you see that at all before the phone records kind of brought that to light?
We really didn't, Parrish. Obviously it was a surprise to all of us. It was a surprise to the Ole Miss family. College football, the timing of it obviously would not be ideal to do that in the middle of July. But when the right thing, when the right decision was on our desk, we had to make the call, and that was he could no longer be our head coach. And so no matter when you're faced with those decisions, doing what's right is really not that hard. The logistics might be hard. But doing the right thing is the right thing. And so we don't like it. We feel, for him and his family. But now we've got to move forward. We've got to do what's best for the program and support these players. So no one anticipated how this thing sort of came to light. But you know what? If it was out there, it was going to probably happen at some point in time. And we're glad we could address it, in the right manner.
Ross, you and Hugh were not hired at the same time, but were not that far apart. And in the early stages of rebuilding Ole Miss football, it seemed like you guys were almost joined at the hip in public appearances and on the same page in the message and things like that. How different is that for you right now to work through this transition?
Well, when I was contacted about the position here back in early 2012, one of the things that interested me in the position at Ole Miss was that there was consistency in how they were making the hire for the football coach and for the athletic director. So that told me that there was a united front, that everyone was on the same page, from the chancellor to the search committee to key leaders here at Ole Miss, that they were looking for, similar type leaders for football and for athletics. And so that's what made me interested in coming here, is you had Mike Glenn and Archie Manning and the chancellor all on the same page for both hires. And so really from day one, I think Coach Freeze and I saw things the same way. We saw that Ole Miss could be successful at the highest level. We were not afraid of the SEC. We were willing to invest and to be aggressive and do the things necessary to compete in the Southeastern Conference. And so we saw things very, very similar in that manner. And so you're exactly right. We were in sync. It was a positive relationship to build the football program in particular, but also to help the entire university excel, using athletics as a vehicle to do that. So we had a really good relationship from that perspective. And so that's why, again, this was a sad moment. It was devastating. But again, back to the institutional values, you've always got to do the right thing. And so that was the hardest part as we move forward here.
Now, Matt Luke quickly moved into that interim position. Had you and he discussed that before, kind of around his South Carolina interview?
Usually I don't have to get involved in assistant coach conversations unless the head coach thinks that I can add value to retaining that person or hiring a new assistant coach. I always let the head coach, make that call. Work with them on the salary, work with them on the logistics of a contract. And so at the time that Matt Luke was being courted by South Carolina, my involvement was making sure that we could bump his salary up, which we did. And then Coach Freeze thought a phone call from me, being the athletic director, making sure Matt knew that we believed in him, that he's an Ole Miss rebel, and that we need him to get through our challenge, really of the NCAA case, that we need all hands on deck. And so that was the conversation with Matt at the time of, hey, we need all rebels involved in this. We need all rebels moving forward. We need all hands on deck. You're a part of helping us get through it, and we hope you stay. Beyond that, that was it. That was my role in the process. And so we never anticipated this day happening, but when it did happen, I knew Matt Luke was the right guy, and he was my first phone call in terms of how the process unfolded on July the 20th, because I had to make sure he was stabilized before we did anything else. And Matt stepped up, and he's done a great job here in the last 2 weeks leading this program.
Ross, just days before all that, Hugh at SEC Media Days had talked about the unwavering support he felt from the administration. You also are named in this notice of allegations in the sense that the institution is cited for failure to or athletic control. I'm losing the words right now.
Institutional control, right.
Lack of institutional control. Right. Do you feel the same support from Chancellor Vitter?
I really do. Chancellor Vitter has been terrific. All of our key leaders on campus have been terrific. They've told me that I'm part of the solution moving forward, that if we need to fix things, we'll fix them. If we need to get through a tough moment, that I'm the leader to get us through this tough moment. So I have felt tremendous support. I'm not naive to not understand that I'm responsible for everything that happens in our athletic program. I get it. I take that very serious. But that's why we have core values. That's why we've tried to develop our culture the right way around rules compliance and around doing the right thing. And then we hold people accountable when they may deviate from our trust or our values. So I get that I'm responsible, and I take great pride in making sure that my leadership is sound, that I'm doing the right thing. And I know that we've done the right thing at every step of the way. So great support on many, many levels from a lot of key people. And we're going to keep moving forward.
Ross, there are some on social media and other circles who have called for you to resign. How do you respond to that criticism?
Parrish, you've got to sort of drown out the noise. I've got a saying, I've got lots of sayings, but focus on focus and control the controllable. And so, what? I haven't had time to read all the stuff. I haven't had time to dig into, what hearsay is or rumor mills are. If I felt that it was best for the institution to do something, then, we would have done that by now. We would have made a lot of changes by now if leadership felt that was necessary. But everyone has said we're part of the solution. We have a great team in place. We've relied on data. We've relied on facts. We've relied on the analysis. And that's really all you can go off of. And I've heard from so many people really since July 20th that have told me, we need you. We need your leadership. We need your direct approach in this. And that's what I can rely on as we move ahead.
What can you tell us, Ross, about the Committee on Infractions meeting that's coming up? I believe you guys are going to release the date and time on that soon. Is that right?
Yeah, we're going to proactively, we've gotten several public records requests on that, but we plan to proactively update our website here later this week with that information. And so right now it's a confidentiality agreement that you're bound by, but if it's a public record, then we'll release that. And so we plan on doing that later this week.
You were clear early on in wanting to focus on the players during this transition. At what point do you believe it becomes appropriate to focus on a head coach search?
You're exactly right, and that's been our approach so far, is that the players come first. We don't want any distractions. Javon Patterson asked me when we were sitting there at the media day, and he said, "Hey, is it true that Les Miles is flying to Oxford to meet with you later today?" And I said, "Javon, no, I'm standing right here with you today." So I don't want any of that noise happening, and so. It's really a one-person search process right now. There'll be a time and a place to involve other people. What that looks like, we do have plenty of time to put all that together. But I want to focus on the players. Of course, I'm doing my homework. Of course, I'm talking to the right people. A lot of that will heat up. I think when the season starts, we can attract a great head coach. This is an SEC job. We can pay top dollar. We have a great assistant pool. Oxford's a great place to live. And then Matt Luke will have a great chance. He'll be on the dance floor every single day to evaluate him. And so we'll start that process as the season unfolds. As we get through our NCAA hearing, that's an important step as well. So we've got some time, and I think it's going to be a great process to identify our next head coach.
Ross, I don't know, this touches the edges of the investigation. I don't know if you can answer this or not, but what happens or doesn't happen that could allow players to transfer in this process?
That's a good question. Obviously, it's something that we've studied. We would, if you're in your last year of eligibility and it affects your last year of eligibility, that's typically where some waivers could be granted. And so, right now, everyone's here, everyone's accounted for, and we're not going to a bowl game. And so that's what we're relying on, is that our team has stayed together. Obviously, at the end of the season, we'll have a new head coach, we'll have our penalties, and we'll be able to assess all of that as we move ahead. But right now, our players are telling us they believe in our program. They believe in the university. They love being on our campus. They love being in this town. We've got a lot of Mississippi kids as well, and so there's pride in their home state. And I think we need to promote that. So, looking ahead, we'll deal with all that when the final decisions are made. But right now, everyone's locked in.
You guys are taking a financial penalty as well, and the penalties that you all have self-imposed. What happens, Ross? Are you equipped to handle assistant contracts? What would that look like in a scenario where most or all of the assistants left after this season? How many guaranteed contracts would you be responsible for?
We have, out of our 9 assistant coaches, we have 6 that are on a 2 or 3 year deal contract. And so we would be obligated to cover their contracts should something happen where they do not stay as part of the program. And then they also have a duty to go out and get another job. And so there'd be an offset of that contract when they get another job. And so, again, that's part of the equation. That's a great point as we go through this transition. We think that, hey, the landscape has changed. There's multi-year contracts for assistant coaches. Typically, they're in that 2 to 3 year window. Some are longer, but ours are all either 2 or 3 years. So obviously, we're going to honor those contracts. But then on the flip side, the coach has a duty to go out and pursue employment. And then, that's offset by whatever they would make at their job that they would get in the future versus what our obligation would be. So that's how we'll approach it. And, hey, look, if the new head coach thinks that all of our assistants would stay on board, great. If they believe that they all need to make a transition, then that's going to be their call. And so we'll address that as the transition unfolds.
You mentioned that the players want to be here, feel united and together. How have they expressed that to you? Have you had conversations with very many of them individually beyond Javon that you mentioned? What has that looked like?
Yeah, a lot of it's been just informal, out at practice or walking the Manning Center or at dinner last week, which I had with the team. A lot of them have just expressed, just appreciation for one, just handling it in a straightforward manner. And obviously naming Coach Luke. I mean, they love Coach Luke. They love his personality. They love the fact that he wore the uniform just like them. So it's been more informal, but I've got a lot of positive vibes. And then I see what they say in the media. I love how they're interacting with you guys in terms of talking about the program and what they're pouring into it. And so I've seen a lot of positive vibes coming out of that locker room and our practice fields.
Now, Matt Luke and coaches often talk about leaning on other coaches and getting advice in a time of transition, things of that nature. Is there anyone that you've spoken with or advice you've sought in working through an NCAA investigation?
There's lots of people, there's lots of, mentors that I have and key people. I'm fortunate to sit on a committee. It's the Men's Basketball Oversight Committee representing the SEC. And around that table sits Gene Smith from Ohio State. He went through a tough deal with Jim Tressel. He and I usually sit close to each other in that meeting. So I've talked to Gene Smith. Dan Guerrero was my boss at UCLA. And Dan has provided great mentorship and just sort of really measured and professional. And he's gone not necessarily through an NCAA case, but a lot of just challenges with getting the right people, the right coaches in football in particular. So he's faced a lot of challenges. My previous boss at Missouri, Mike Alden, he survived a lot of battles at Missouri in his 18 years. And so he's provided great guidance. So lots of good examples that I can rely on, lots of people within the industry that has provided support and belief in my leadership, our leadership. And so that's been good to have that reinforced as we move ahead.
Just a few more questions, Ross. And you and I were talking yesterday. You're going to be on the Paul Feinbaum show later today, right? People will want to tune into that today.
I think that's later this week.
Okay.
Thursday afternoon.
Okay, so that's coming up. Shifting gears a little bit, early summer, you and I were talking about contracts for your baseball coach Mike Bianco and softball coach Mike Smith. Where do those stand?
Yeah, so Mike Smith obviously had a great run in softball and really just a testament to his leadership, to our players buying in, to really changing the culture and the mindset around that particular sport, because it was probably our worst performing sport over a long-term period that we had, and to be able to turn it around quickly. So he has a new 4-year contract. His salary is $190,000. That bumped up from $150,000. So we want to make an investment there. We invested in the assistant coaches. We're looking at a facility project to expand and add on to our softball stadium, and that was in the works before we made the run to the super regional. So a lot of excitement around softball. Mike Bianco, his contract rolled over automatically to a 4-year contract. We believe in his leadership. Tough season last year, a lot of dynamics, a lot of pressure on those young guys to perform, and frankly, offensively, we just didn't deliver, and no one knows that better than Mike. No one knows how to fix it better than Mike. He's got a plan moving forward. We were terrific on the mound, and it sort of caught up with us at the end, where there's it's kind of like last year in football. On the offensive side, we pretty much had to score every time on the offense because our defense was struggling. In baseball, we had to hold them to 1 or 2 runs because the offense was struggling, and that was just going to be a combustible ending, and sure enough, it just didn't come through. So, but Mike's terrific. He gets it. He embraces high-level expectations. Omaha's written all over our building. We're investing in our building. So it's a long answer to say we believe in Mike. He's got a 4-year contract that rolled over, and we're going to keep supporting him at the highest level.
You chose not to roll over Andy Kennedy's contract after last basketball season. Do you view the program differently now with the pavilion being open and the advantage that brings? What are your expectations there?
Yeah, I think that I'll use softball as an example. This is the expectation for all of our sports, is that we want to finish in the top half of our conference. And on selection day, we want to wake up, and, selection days look different in some sports. Obviously, football's different. But on selection day, we want to wake up and just look and see where we're going, or if we're hosting. Not, are we in? Are we out? Are we on the bubble? Are we last 4 in? First 4 out? We want to be squarely in the conversation. Is that going to happen every year? Who knows? But if we invest the right way, have the right people, we believe that in the SEC, if you finish in the top half, you're going to be a top 25, top 30 program in every sport. And that really proves itself out over the course of time. And that's our expectation. And so we've got the resources, we've got the facility, we've got the right coach. Things happen in contract discussions. We decided to land on 3 years. That was a mutual decision that we came to. And we're not backing off our support of Andy Kennedy. We're not backing off of basketball. Season ticket sales are progressing nicely. That atmosphere that we had for the Georgia Tech game, if we can bottle that for all of our games, man, that's what Ole Miss basketball can be. That was fun. We didn't win, but that atmosphere propelled our team. And I know that this roster's really, really talented. And we're looking forward to a great 17-18.
Ross, thanks a lot. Thanks for being with us today.
Hey, thanks, Parrish. Thanks for having me on.